Assalamu alaikum. Today's statement is titled Significant Statement for All the Nations of the Dominion of the World. The statement was written by the awaited Imam Mahdi, Nasser Mohammed al-Yamani, on the 29th of April 2023, and it will be recited to you by one of his supporters. In the name of Allah, no power except with Allah the Great. Take into consideration the meaning of this reminder in the clear verses of the Great Quran.
وإذا أذقنا الناس رحمة من بعد ضراء مستهم إذا لهم مكر في آياتنا قل الله أسرع مكرا إن رسلنا يكتبون ما تمكرون.
Surah Yunus, chapter 10, verse 21. Also Allah the Exalted said,
ولو رحمناهم وكشفنا ما بهم من ضر للجوا في طغيانهم يعمهون ولقد أخذناهم بالعذاب فما استكانوا لربهم وما يتضرعون حتى إذا فتحنا عليهم بابا ذا عذاب شديد إذا هم فيه مبلسون.
Surah Al-Mu'minun, chapter 23, verses 75 to 77. They represent the deniers of the calamity of cosmic and cavitous war of Allah. How many times did I warn you and the leaders of the whole dominion of the world, their scientists, government officials, soldiers, and people, but my words fall on deaf ears. The problem is not them brushing aside Imam Mahdi Nasser Muhammad al-Yamani, the caliph of Allah on the whole dominion of the worlds, whom Allah chose. For who am I but a servant of Allah like you? It is the great calamity of ignoring the leader of the cosmic and cavitous war. That is Allah, who there is no God but Him. My Lord and your Lord, and Lord of the heavens and earth, and what is between them, and Lord of the great throne. You will surely know that the Omicron beings were created and did not create themselves, or do you claim to create them? But you know good and well that if all of our biologists worked together to create any of the so-called corona, they would not succeed even if they backed up and helped each other because it is a living being with soul and mind. Would you be able to create a soul? And now you find yourself amid a fourth world war with an enemy you have no understanding of, the so-called corona, which is not corona but strains of somewhat like an ant that you encompass no knowledge about. And I am not referring to the mosquito that bites and transmits diseases, but the tiniest creature created by Allah and mentioned in the Quran. A new set forth example of a new creation created by the words of power of Allah, the Almighty, the Praiseworthy, by which He validates His caliph, Imam Mahdi Nasser Muhammad al-Yamani, through a challenge to empower him by dint of his tiniest creatures. In line with the word of Allah the Exalted,
إن الله لا يستحي أن يضرب مثلا ما بعوضة فما فوقها فأما الذين آمنوا فيعلمون أنه الحق من ربهم وأما الذين كفروا فيقولون ماذا أراد الله بهذا مثلا يضل به كثيرا ويهدي به كثيرا وما يضل به إلا الفاسقين الذين ينقضون عهد الله من بعد ميثاقه ويقطعون ما أمر الله به أن يوصل ويفسدون في الأرض أولئك هم الخاسرون.
Surah Al-Baqarah, verses 26 to 27, chapter 2. Repeatedly reminding my supporters and truth seekers around the world that I do not want to rewrite new statements about the so-called corona. I have already declared Omicron a global calamity. In contrast to the White Coat Army, I never contradict myself. Allah waged this war of organized soldiers placed in groups of a series of supporting troops. Each is adept in battle faster than the force before it, malicious in planning, deep in intelligence, skill, and intellect, and equipped by Allah for the needs of the battle, that you may reflect on Allah who created, equipped, taught, prepared them to overpower the scientists of the world, so it surpasses them scientifically, for those who deny Allah to be reminded and know the sure knowledge that there is definitely behind these newly created living creatures a creator whom you are not co-equal to, that is Allah, who there is no God but He, glorified and highly exalted is He. And it appears to me that the World Health Organization wants to declare the end of COVID-19. But I, Allah's caliph, Al-Mahdi, Nasser, Mohammed, al-Yamani, who always opposes them by a full 180 degrees with confidence in pride, announce the readiness of the rapid intervention forces, the most lethal and more tormenting. I already forewarned you of them in the hopes that you would realize that you are engaged in a real war, not the kind depicted in Hollywood movies, in which real troops of Allah are outclassing your military strength. I am saying this for the thousandth time. Raise your hands towards the sky in surrender to the Lord of the worlds, declaring your submission to Him by obeying whom He chose to be His caliph on the whole dominion of the worlds, land and sea. I am announcing in the Yemeni vernacular what Allah commanded me to say.
يا خبرة ارتضوا بمن اختاره الله.
O folks, accept whom Allah has chosen. Period. This is a last warning from Allah the Almighty, the Praiseworthy, who knows best what is within yourselves. What is your thought about whom Allah was with him? Do you realize that whether you like it or not, He will support and empower him over the entire world's land and sea? He gave you much time to stand to pray before Allah in pairs and individually and think, why are these consecutive COVID soldiers continuing their global battle for the new COVID evolutions in Allah's covidious war? And why are the sun, earth, and climate getting worse as a result of Allah's cosmic war caused by the approach of the planet Saqar? You must be sure that there is no going back in Allah's explicit cosmic war. O atheists, do you see that Allah's cosmic war stopped? Likewise, the war of the COVID soldiers that hid the blood did not stop. They are just receiving orders from Allah, and no soul can ever die without Allah's will at the destined time. I have already taught you that they act upon the command of Allah and that you will never encompass knowledge about the origin of Corona and its well-concealed secret in the Great Quran. You will never know from where Allah invaded you with it, and He sends you consecutive supporting forces by His words of power because of turning away from the caller to the truth in line with the word of Allah the Exalted.
فذرني ومن يكذب بهذا الحديث سنستدرجهم من حيث لا يعلمون وأملي لهم إن كيدي متين. صدق الله العظيم.
Surah Al-Qalam, verse 44-45. It was not me who challenged you more than 3 years ago on the 5th of March 2020 in a statement titled, Coronavirus is of the lesser torment, short of the greater torment that perhaps they may repent. The signs of Allah have become clear to you through sending His soldiers of the changing, equipped in taught raids of COVID, which act against the new vaccines, making them of no use. But they changed their plotting in the summer to make you disbelieve in your claim. Coronavirus is like seasonal influenza because it occurs in the winter. But here the so-called corona will invade you in the summer during the hot weather, so where would you escape? We shall wait and see the planning of Allah, the One, the Overpowering, and I am vetoing the WHO declaration by announcing the occurrence of the forthcoming global calamity of Omicron by Allah's order because you ignored Allah's signs of the so-called COVID-19 soldiers that you do not know its well-concealed secret. I give tidings to the deniers who deny the truth about the sincere supporters of Allah, COVID, of severe torment, that they will receive what I promised them, in line with the word of Allah the Exalted.
والذين كذبوا بآياتنا سنستدرجهم من حيث لا يعلمون وأملي لهم إن كيدي متين أولم يتفكروا ما بصاحبهم من جنة إن هو إلا نذير مبين أولم ينظروا في ملكوت السماوات والأرض وما خلق الله من شيء وأن عسى أن يكون قد اقترب أجلهم فبأي حديث بعده يؤمنون من يضلل الله فلا هادي له ويذرهم في طغيانهم يعمهون. صدق الله العظيم.
Surah Al-A'raf, verses 182-186. And it shall say what Allah ordered us to say.
قل تربصوا فإني معكم من المتربصين. صدق الله العظيم.
Surah At-Tur, verse 31. But I will also say, O Allah, who provides protection, but none can be protected from him. O my Lord, I am your servant. I ask you to save your servants, whom if they knew the truth they would follow it. Indeed, your promise is true, and you are the most merciful of all. O Allah, judge between me and those who hated your pleasure within. Indeed, you encompass the wicked. Peace be upon the messengers, and all praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds. Allah's caliph on the whole dominion of the worlds, Imam Mahdi, Nasser, Mohammed, al-Yamani.